and that's not his fault. What we're going to do now is we're going to talk about some things we've seen getting things off the internet. Seems like there's a lot of commonalities in getting information from an API. Check this out. Every time you have made a request that's a data task, every time you've done it, what information have you had access to? There are three things, Sonny. And what are they?
Result, error,
So just the function data tags on URL session. What are they done in the format of? What's that thing called that you get that information in? Alex.
Data.
For data task, you get this chunk of information to use. What are you using for that information?
JSON.
Not quite. I'm thinking before that. The function signature. What does it give you? B.
a completion handler.
A completion handler. And Allison, what's the important thing about my completion handler? It itself is not a singleton. It is called on an instance of URL session, which might not necessarily be the singleton share. So that's important. Any instance can call it. Brianna, what's the special thing about this completion handler?
What's a special thing?
It's super special. It even gets an at in front of it.
Oh,
It's escaping. Neat. That's great. I'm really happy about that. So closures work like this, right? You get some stuff, and then you give some stuff. Every time I use the data task completion handler, what stuff do I get? Jason. Data response, which is URL response. And error. What's the thing about all three of these things? What do they have in common, Sonny? They're all optional. So, here's the thing. If you know how data task works, we can make one function that you can use for any call to any URL. And follow the same format every time. So any function we create using data task, here's our goal. Handle the errors. And then return or give access to live data if no errors. Let's talk about those errors. What are some errors you run into while getting stuff off the internet? Michelle, what's one? I'm sorry? Yeah, like what's an error you run into while doing all this stuff? Like going and getting information.
do you mean like the error codes?
I do, but I don't mean them in terms of what we see in Swift. I think about them even more broadly. Okay, what are the 400s? What's that range? Yeah, those are forbidden. They're most broadly client error. Inside of the 400s are 404, not found. 401 or 403, which are unauthorized. 402 you won't see very often. What is that one, Ayla? 402 code. Did I pass it to Kimball?
Yes.
Passing it to Kimball.
Payment required.
Payment required.
Payment
Payment required. Kimball, what's a 418? Teapot. What's 406? Not acceptable. You typically won't see teapot. You probably, unless you're dealing specifically with an API that handles payment, probably won't see 402. These are the big guys to handle. Status code 404, 401, and 403. So, anytime we make a request, it might be helpful to have some universal set of errors that we can look at and say, couldn't find that information, or must be logged in to get that information. Cool. We've seen other errors though, Allison. We have. You've created some stuff, and there have been probably errors that you have to figure out. What's another example of an error? Bad URL. Cool. Bad URL. What's another one, Liana? Okay, what's another one, Adam? So those are all in the status codes. And let's say we figured out the 400 stuff. You've still written a bunch of code and sometimes found some problems in it. Right? You've made requests and you've said, all right, I've made my request. So this was one example we had. The URL string is bad. What are some other errors we've seen though? I'll just leave that on the screen. Alex? B?
I was gonna answer the
Okay. Go ahead.
We've seen one with networks and bad decoding.
What?
So there's a network error and there's a bad decoder error.
Ooh. Network error. Bad decoder. What else is on there?
Data, response.
No data. Error. Neat. What is that beginning to look like? What's it beginning to look like? There are a bunch of scenarios there. It's beginning to look like an enum. So we can make an enum. Let's make an enum. I'm going to make a new file with our enum. I'm going to call it app error. This is going to be a collection of all the app errors that we can run into. So I'm going to make an enum called app error. Neat. My enum, like a class, can inherit. So this is, all of these things are errors. Where do you think we'll use this? Sunny. in the places where in the past my only response has been to make the app crash, yes. Thank you. That's great. Neat. So, specifically in our network calls, which is not in here, network calls, when we're fetching data, we might do it there. That's great. So let's make a first case. Hildy, pick any of those errors out. Let's make a case for it. Sounds good. Bad URL. Sorry. Bad decoder. Neat. Ian, pick another case. Network error. Neat. Marielle, pick another case. No data error. Neat. I'm going to make sure that all of these end with error just so that we know what we're talking about, keeping it consistent throughout. Carrie, pick another error. No response. What do you want no response to be? But tell me about when we would get a no response error. Okay. Let's keep it for now. Keep going. I'm looking at bad decoder error. Jack, when have we run into a problem decoding things? Our key in what? Cool. So I'm going to rename this bad decoder error to be bad JSON error. Because I don't think the decoder is the problem there. I think the problem is the JSON. So let's be descriptive about that. Network error, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to say case not found. When do we get a not found error, Alex? So when the API, so the endpoint we're hitting, what information does it give us in return so that we can learn that information? Tell me more. Be more specific. It's on the board, I promise you. What's that? Okay. It gives you a little more information. So let's look at Postman. In Postman, the nice thing has usually been They tell us about our request itself. And they use a numerical status code. So what's the number for something that's not found? Say it again. Yeah, 404. This error is going to be for a 404 error, or 404 status code. What about case, let's say, unauthorized? I'm going to tell you it's for status codes as well. Eric, Eric M, sorry Eric. For an unauthorized status code, there are going to be two numbers for now that we're just going to look at. 40, how much? 403 and 401? Cool. Not quite. So unauthenticated, and that's a really good question. Unauthenticated means you're not logged in. Unauthorized means you're never allowed in. So when we start to learn about logging in next week, we'll probably refine this so that we can deal with those two cases separately. But for right now, if you're never logging in, then it's the same thing as not being allowed in at all. I'm going to add Liana's case. It's my best interpretation of what you said. And then the last one, we're just going to call other. And let's say other has, this. This is just going to be a catch-all. This is going to be, because now we're going to construct something using a data task that catches all of these errors. And this is just going to be a catch-all for anything else. So any other error that we run into, we're just going to say, all right, it's some other error. So our app error, it's just any other error. We can also use this in other parts of our app. Doesn't necessarily need to be when we're getting information from an API. It could just be for any other error. That's why I called this thing app error. Neat. All right. We can use this list of things for any API call we make. That's wonderful. I love it. Going back to talking about data tasks, these errors will apply to this error object, which is great, but they'll also apply, when you start using it now, to our URL response. URL response is something specific, right? It's a specific response, it's an object, and it's going to tell us about the request we made. It's going to include the status code. It's going to include some other stuff too. We're also going to have errors in response to the data. We might have a bad JSON. We might have missing data. So when we construct this thing that we're going to use all the time to get information from APIs or off the web or wherever we get it, we're going to account for all those cases. If we do this now, then you don't have to make your own APIs. Isn't that great? Neat. All right. So those are the errors we're going to run into. Every time we make an API call, we run into certain errors. We kind of map them out. We've also used that information in the same way every time. Kevin, what information have we used in every API call, regardless of what type it refers to or how it's going to be decoded? So it's a JSON, and what part of this completion handler in data task what part of this completion handler has the information for that JSON? So I'm talking about data task, which always has this format. There's an optional data, an optional URL response, and an optional error. Neat. So for the thing we make, in the end, if someone uses this data task, we're going to provide to them either data or an error. And just like we've been doing all the time, this is going to be an escaping completion handler, providing data or error to work with, and then just providing a void function after you use this. What's a really cool thing we learned about that's a generic enum that has a specific name dealing with the result of making a data task call? I know, but which word was it? Neat. So instead of providing both a data object and an error object, we're going to provide a result object that is, in success, can provide data every time, and in failure, it's going to provide an app error. Error. Neat. Hooray. Awesome. This is our goal. Just make one thing that does all that stuff so we don't have to make it every time. If you go to a job, they're going to have something in place like this so that you don't have to go and create it. But you got to know how it works because sometimes it doesn't do everything you need. So let's start doing it. These are all of our app errors. I'm going to make a new file here. What do you guys want to call it? What are some good names? It's going to do all that stuff, and in the end, it's a struct that's going to do all that stuff. And in the end, what it's going to provide to us, which is really awesome, incredible, I think it's amazing. What it's going to provide to us is an escaping closure with a result that has data in the case of success and an app error in the case of failure. API client, that's decent. What's its job? If you had to describe it, Angela. Sorry. Provide data or an error. Provide data or an error when you do what? When you make a network call. Super important. We make a network call. What is the network that we are making this call on? JSON is a type of information. A network is a thing that exists in the real world. What's the network we are making our call on with a URL? What? So we are specifically looking at an API. But if we want to do this for any API, where do those APIs exist? What's that network called? It's called the internet. So our network that we're getting stuff from is the internet. Wow. Neato. So for now, let's say this struct, this thingy is going to manage our relationship with that network of interconnected computers, which number in the thousands, which have specific internet protocol addresses that are aliased as domain names called the internet. All those terms, wow. That's how these computers work, and it's amazing. You don't have a brain anymore, I'm sorry. So I'm going to call this thing Network Manager. What? Network Manager. It is super important. What's going to be amazing is if we make this right, you're just going to use it.
Wow.
Neato. Okay. Let's see. What do I want to do? How should we get started? Make a struct? Why? Why? Ooh, interesting. Why is it going to be a reference type? Because what? What's your purpose for making it a reference type? A struct would make copies of it. Great. And I think in there what I'm hearing is you might want to use the singleton pattern again. So there's going to be, let's call it shared. There's going to be a shared instance of Network Manager available across the app. If we made this a struct, then each time we go to get shared, it's going to create a new copy of it. Because that's just how structs work. They're value types. If we have a class, it's going to point, every time we talk about shared, it's going to point to one place in memory. So if we use a struct, it's going to repeat it over and over and over. Tomorrow we're going to talk a little bit about retain cycles, which I remember that. I remember that you asked me what this word means. I remember that. I kept that in my memory. Me. Tomorrow, B gets her answer.
Yeah.
Perhaps via her advocate, Liana. That's great that you advocate for each other. I appreciate that. So we're going to make a class. Neat. What should we call our class? Neat. If I want a singleton, how do I create that, Nima? All right. Done? Static let var shared. I think you have one too many keywords. It's great that you're asking for help, but I'm going to push that back to you. I like that. Why is this going to be a let instead of a var? I'm going to say, because shared is an instance of Network Manager, we don't want someone to be able to change shared. We're just going to want to use this singleton, this shared instance of Network Manager. That's it. We just want to use that. Neat. What's the nice thing about using a class where all the properties have values? You don't have to initialize it. I'm going to do it anyway, though. Because when we learn some new stuff in the future about how you keep internet information around, does anyone know what we call the process of keeping information around? Persisting Yes, that's valid. We can put it many places, and I guess my question wasn't specific enough. What do you call it when you... It's similar to the word stash. Hash is a word that we've learned. This is not a word that we've learned. Bash, that is the program that used to run in your terminals. That's great. Answer the question already. We're going to update this initial. Ask the question. I don't really know how to ask it. Rhymes with stash. We will later update this to cache. To cache certain information. To cache that information. I do appreciate all of your guesses. I don't think there's any real like rashing in computer science. All right, here's the thing. Today we are just going to create one thing. And I want to just make a note about commenting your code. This is not a great comment, because your comments should serve one purpose. And I know we are learning here, so we're not super strict about it, but your comments should tell other people how to read your code. They should not tell you what you do. So they should be directives to other people, such as a to-do, which we've seen. This comment tells someone very clearly what I want to do or what needs to be done later, or if the function is going to serve a specific purpose, I'm going to say the function we're about to create performs get requests. I would like it. This is more to say if you do it.
But wouldn't that help us in the real world, like in class?
Yes. Mandatorily. Should we take a vote?
I mean, I'm just looking out for not just myself, but other people. So.
That's true. That's a good point. Let me think about it. That's valid. For today, if you make comments in your code, the focus should be on others, not on you. B.
I have a kind of like thing that I learned from my mentor about making comments. If you do option command and you forward slash, it kind of like takes the code and you can actually like make it like documentation.
Tell me more.
So I think you have to like highlight it or something.
So like this?
Yeah, highlight it and then do option command plus forward slash.
Neat. And then here I just put a description.
Yeah, you put a description of what you're trying to do with the code.
Nice. This is a singleton. Wow. Hell yeah.
So it's option command. Oh, you can do triple slash.
Hmm.
Option command and then forward slash. And it'll bring that up.
Neat. All right, let's create a function that performs get requests for any URL. And typically when you have functions, you say what the parameters are. If it's not clear, this is going to be pretty clear, so that's okay. And then I'm also going to say completion to say what you should expect in your completion handler. The parameters of this are going to be try to decide. Do you want me to be annoying or not annoying? Okay. What? Who? Oh. Yes, Iram has come to the dark side. Remember how nice he was like 5 weeks ago? For now, let's just say the URL as a string. The completion is going to provide one result with data in success and app error in failure. Neat. Forgot to make this do the thing where you see it up here. Is that it? No. Is it double? No. Is it colon? Yeah. Neat. All right, there's a to-do. Neat. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would try to categorize them though. So if it's like something going on with the UI, I wouldn't just say like cell couldn't be found. I would say something about a table view, and maybe there'd be a category. Yeah, exactly. So case, I could say UI error, which might have some description of it. We're going to keep building on this stuff. It's going to be great. Some other thing to use. Bless you. All right, let's make a function. Here's the thing. Should this be static, or should it be a regular function to call on an instance? Are we calling on the type or an instance? What? He voted regular. Why did he vote regular? Carrot. We're going to create a function here. When we've gone into, when we've made network calls before, we've said, get me some data. What if we said, get me that data from? From the URL, and in Swift, what has been the thing that we said, the thing that we communicated with and said, get me the data? It's an instance of something. The handler, okay. The instance of that handler, that client, is going to be this singleton. So we're going to use an instance method here to say, you're going to make a function you'll call on network manager to do some stuff. Jason, what do you want to call this function? Get some stuff. All right? Let's amend that. Get Brewski. Fetch data. I kind of like that. Give me this damn data now. Let's go with fetch data for right now. Fetch data is going to have a URL, which is what? A string. And it's also going to have a completion handler, which is going to be escaping. And in there, it's going to have just a result that gives you data when you're successful, and an app error when you fail, and returns nothing. That's it. Does this look familiar to anyone? No? I think so. You know what else looks familiar? It's that I messed up my parens. Wow. Yes. Because that's just the practice. I know it's not helpful, but void is an older term. This tends to be how people will use or refer to a void function. It's not wrong, it's just more contemporary. So don't yell at Iran. He did a great job. I agree. But in the future, you're not going to read void, so I'd like you to be prepared for seeing that now. Is there a question over here? All right, let's keep going. What are we going to do in this thing? Say that again? Parameter. What do you mean? How would I reference that result? Oh, I need a name for it? Thank you. Oh no, what's going on here? Attribute can only be applied to types, not declaration? What does that mean? Oh, neat. Do y'all love debugging? So here is an escaping closure that provides to you a result and returns nothing. Let's do it. All right, look at all of our errors. Which is the first that you think you'll run into? Thank you. What? A bad URL. So before we even do the data task, we want to make sure that we've got a good URL. Let's guard and make sure that that can happen. So we'll try to initialize a URL from the string URL, else, what should we do? Anthony. What? Yes. If this doesn't work, what should we do? Okay, we're going to give an error. How do we provide that back to the user with this function, which doesn't return anything? Okay? And inside of failure, what should we put? Let's go have a look. It's called app error. Hang on one sec. Oh, you dick. Sorry. Sorry. Unum case cannot have keyword. No, I don't like that. Go away for now. All right, which one was it? It's not in there. Let's create a case. What do you want to call it? We'll figure it out later. No, we definitely know what this error is. When does this happen? Nice. Would you say that URL is good or bad? I agree. So let's call it a bad URL. So here, I gotta save the other file. Sorry about that. Bad URL. And the URL was showing us before, which was really nice, is that because failure is of type app error, we don't have to say app error to say which case it is, because bad URL is a case in there, so it's a value of type app error. Neat. I need a name for my URL. Maybe I'll change the name of this argument to be URL string,
And I will just call the URL URL without a quotation mark or a tick. All right. We did it. We're all done, right? Let's take lunch. Oh no, why? Return? Oh man, I gotta get out of the function now that I have my failure. Neat. Can we take lunch now, B? I don't want to. All right, what should we do next? What's that?
It's not 1 o'clock yet, we can't take
It's not one. Oh, that's really nice. That's nice. No, we should always stop for lunch at 1, just to editorialize. I think we all need that. All right, what should we do now to get information, Kevin? I want stuff off of the internet, which is our network that this is managing. Yeah. Yeah. Neat. With URL. What's this argument going to be? Eric W. Neat. So that URL we just created. I think I picked the wrong thing. I need the one with the completion handler. Thank you. Oh man, you guys teach me so much. Like this whole hit enter on the thing is so much better. I'm gonna call this stuff data, response, error. Now we're gonna use those things. All right, what's something we can check for really easy to make sure nothing went wrong with our call, Alex? Alex, your voice came from over there. What were you saying? Neat. Let's check if error exists. Let's guard against it happening. So if error is not equal nil, or else, we can do the whole completion handler thing, say there's a failure situation, and look at that, if I just hit dot, it tells me all the stuff. No, this is a little different. No, this is exactly what you said. I really appreciate that. We were making, logic is hard, I'm sorry. Regarding that the error is nil. We're making sure that it is nil. Neat. Thank you, Levi. I appreciate your compassion. All right. So that's one error. What else should we check? Data. What are we going to do with data? Let's make sure we can unwrap data. So I got to say guard that we can declare a new thing data as data. Else, well, we got to trigger that completion handler. We got to say dot failure. We got to say no data error. There's no data. Crap. And I'll say return. All right. Now this is the fun one. I'm going to say, I'm going to delete this before I push it to GitHub, but just so we can be exhaustive with our data, guard that 1 is not equal to 2, else. Trigger the completion handler for failure. is the case. Okay? Just guarding against that, Liana. I'm just making sure it doesn't happen. Will 1 ever equal 2? It's pretty easy. Is this the same as this? All right. This is always going to be true. What? It's just going to evaluate to true. This is a whole statement, just like this will never be a failure. It'll never be triggered. That's nice. It's all this that. I'm just being exhaustive, like, not so much like, not so much like exhaustive as exhausting. I can do that sometimes. Sorry, this is just for me. I'm having fun today. All right. We've handled a bunch of errors. Here's what we haven't done in the past. We haven't dealt with those status codes. So let's look at response, because that's where we're going to get that information from. Response is of type URL response. A URL doesn't necessarily have to be something that we got via an HTTP request. A URL response could be something in response to any URL. So it might be a request. It might be using a different protocol other than HTTP. It might just be in the attempt to find some local file, some URL, which searches through your drives using a different protocol. So the response we get here for this data task isn't 100% specific to using the internet. That is super important. Because if we look at a URL, hold on. If we look at the definition, don't you guys just love like looking at the documentation? If I look at a URL response, there's nothing in here. I'm searching for a status code. It doesn't get created with a status code. But there's a class that inherits from it called HTTP URL response, which has status codes in it. So when I make an HTTP URL response, it has status codes. Here's a really fun thing that you have seen before, I promise you. I'm going to try to turn response into an HTTP URL response. Else, I'm going to say, turn the completion handler, do the failure. Let's find an error for it. I'm going to call it no response, or I might call it bad HTTP response, to be more specific. Because we're making an HTTP request. So if I'm making an HTTP request, but I can't turn the response of that request into something related to HTTP, then what the hell, man? Neat. Neat. All right. Now if we look at response, which is an HTTP URL response, and I say status code, that's an int. What do you think that int is? It's in the name of the variable. It's the code. So knowing what we know about the internet, it probably falls in the 100, 200, 300, 400, or 500 range. So let's switch on it to make sure that we don't have any of those errors that we started making over there. Let's switch on it. So let's say if status code, which is an int, equals 404, trigger the completion handler for a failure for a not found error. What's it called? Not found, yeah. Not found. Neat. Otherwise, if it's 401, 403, well, whoopsies. If it's 401 or 403, trigger the completion handler for a failure for an unauthorized error. But now, if we've got data, and we've got no error, and we've got a response that is an HTTP response, if we've got all those things, oh, come on, friends. I think you can. Thank you. If all of those things worked out, so the default case, we did it. And we can just send back the data because our goal was just to send data with this function. That's it. Yeah. I'm just talking though, we'll get there. Do you need to return? What do you think? All right, let's see if it builds. Seems okay to me because all of this switches one statement. Liana, I'm now getting rid of your function, I'm sorry. I am also sad. I'm also going to get rid of it here. Yes?
Why would it make the successive defense? Isn't it possible to get other errors that are not?
We are not going to deal with them right now. So there are plenty of other errors that we're going to add to this as we learn about them, such as like separating out 401 and 403. I'm just going to say for now, you know what? That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Let's do that. Michelle's suggestion was, instead of just saying, make a successful return for any status code that's not 404 or 401 or 403, we know that there's a status code range, let's say between 200 and 299. We'll say in there, yeah, I like that. That's great. Thank you. Say in there, go away notifications, sorry. If it's in that success range, then return that success. So if our status code is successful, and we had no errors, and we got data, and our response was an HTTP response, and it was in the 200 range for status codes, then we'll send success. And just in case, any other thing, we'll just say, what can we say? Yeah. So let's see if we can make error work, the other error. So do you like me or do you hate me? Damn. Let's say dot other. And then in there, we could create an error. create an error with the string. Wrong status code. For now. Other. Need one more for it. Neat. Oh no, why doesn't it work? Reference to member other cannot be resolved without a contextual type. All right. Let's say as app error. Will that help me? No. Damn. Oh no, what does that mean? Well, I know who to ask.
That's good.
Reference to blank cannot be resolved without contextual type. Here I would like to, oh, that's a really nice thing. Here I would like to share my experience in resolving this compile error while implementing Codable. Interesting. The car object is core data NS managed. Well, we don't know what that stuff is. Solution. After extensive investigation, the solution we had to arrive is that Codable is having some under the hood issues and supporting that. Here's the thing. I don't think that's our issue. I think our issue is something different. I need to make this into, let's make it a string for now. Let's see what's going on in there. Let's debug some stuff. How do they feel about that? Oh, they liked it. So they didn't like that it was an error. They were okay with it being a string. We can use that for now. We can fix it later, I guess. All right, here's the thing about our data task. Let me close all these things. If you've never done this before, it's really cool. You hold Command and Option, and then you hit left to close some braces. You hit right to open them. It's a nice way to look through your code. Neat. Ah, damn it. All that work. Command Option and left will shrink it. And Command Option and right will open it up. Then you can also hit Enter on that ... All right, look at my data task. Is this ever going to work? Is it ever going to work? Why not? I do have a success option, I promise you. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's right there. And it's only when you have somewhere between a 200 and a 299 status code. I don't have to return data. I'm already doing that in my success. Phoenix, what do you think? I gotta .resume this guy. I gotta say, do this. Neat. That's it. All right, see you in like 3 months. Default case. The default case. The default case is a raw error. Rar. Well, error is nil. If error is nil, we already took care of that. So there's no error. It's just going to pass nil. All right. Let's take a 7-minute break, and then quickly before lunch, we'll see how to use this. I'd love to see it.
Am I just spelling failure?
Let's see the error again.
I was doing all the same error as you until you get out that error type. Now I might have this error you did.
Can we check out your errors? Yes. So your other, you are passing in the value of a string, but here the definition of other says to make it an error.
What did you change this to?
I changed error to just be a string, so maybe it could be raw error message. A better message. Error description.
Oh, I
I don't think I want to make a jumper today.
I literally, yeah.
What's that?
When did the newbies start?
End of September. I think the 24th.
They had the orientation yesterday. But that was one.
Tuesday. Yeah. Whatever the date that was the first date of this week was, or whatever the date.
They don't start for, they don't actually start class.
Yeah. It's kind of, yeah, you all came in for orientation like 2-3 weeks before. Like that. Yeah.
Should, but.
Alex, what's up?
I'm trying to solve my situation.
I don't know.
So my result is a success is an array of breweries, and I have my failures error handling. So all the failures are okay.
Mm-hmm. Let's look at the
My success.
actual signature of this function. So how you're defining it.
Here,
Mm-hmm.
data response error.
So what you have there is a bit different than what we're making. What we're making is something that can deal with any HTTP request or any GET request for a URL. And so in the end, if you go down to your success, what that is providing to the success case is something of type data. So if you wanted to use this current setup that you have, you'd have to decode data into, if you go up, your result says it has to be an array of breweries. So if you wanted to use this, you'd have to turn data into.
So this has to run. This has to run before,
So
or it has to run within here. Type of deal.
yes, exactly. So this is like what you need. Yeah, you might do a guard to make sure that status code is within that range, rather than a switch here. But I think in the end, what our goal is to separate this out into its own function. Because this fetch data guy is going to be for every request you make, not just for making a request to that brewery API. Let's do it. All right. Let's do it. Yay! So Sam so kindly created a brew model for us before. It was really nice. Thanks, Sam. Sam, here's what I'm going to do to your model. Are you ready? You ready? Only if you're ready. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay. So, wow. There's a shared instance. And there's a whole enum of errors. By errors, I've already got errors. There's a shared instance of Brewery API client. I guess that's fine. I guess. It's a struct. So every time I go and try to use this API client, I'm going to see something else. I mean, yeah, technically, yeah. I'm going to see a new instance of this API client. Sorry. Here's something really cool. You made this for us, and I really appreciate that about you. It's very nice. No, it's great. This is all we need now. We made that network manager, and it's going to go out and do a whole bunch of crap. But in the end, if it's successful, what does it give us? Yeah. And what Sam created for us is something that decodes data. Neat. Cool. What do you think we should do with it? Let's use it. If I look at my view controller where I used it, what he did was he dealt with failure and success. I think I like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna change up this get brewskis. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. And it's gonna, wow. It's gonna have a completion handler. Wow. It's gonna, there's going to be some result of using this. And that's going to be either an array of breweries or an app error. And it's going to return a void function. Neat. All right, well, I guess this thing has to be escaping because it's got to wait. Let's take a look. Did I delete the URL we're looking at? I think so. My bad. Does anyone want to send me the URL? Nah. Why? I keep doing that. I'm sorry. I can make no guarantees that I will never make a mistake again. And I think that's solid and human. What's that? I agree. Let URL equal this guy. Oh my God. Neat. What am I going to do with this? Well, I'm going to go to my network manager. Let's say, fetch me some data on that shared instance. I'm just going to give it a URL string. I'm going to try to get some data in my completion handler. Nice. Nice. So I'm going to look at my network manager, the shared instance in it, and I'm going to say fetch data. What's the URL string? Just that URL, that thing I declared right there. And now, with its completion handler, I'm going to set up my completion handler. So there's one result. I'm going to call that result. And I'm going to say, let's just look at the result. Let's look at the result. Result's a thing. It's either got failure which is going to be an app error. So I'll just call that thing app error. Or it's got success, which is of what type? What type do we provide when we have a successful fetch data? A successful fetch data from our network manager, which doesn't know what types we're going to turn it into. Someone scream it. Thank you. Every time we use this, if we are successful, we'll have data to work with. Which is pretty cool. Now I'm just going to do this stuff. And we're going to do the thing I've done for a long time, which is just trigger a fatal error. That's true. We could do something better. We could say, I don't know, something like create a UI alert detailing the error. And what we could do is, in that enum, we could give raw values to all these things. We could say something like, couldn't work with information, node information, network error, could not connect to remote information. Could say something like here, could not get data from remote information. What might be a better way to refer to remote information? Where are we getting this data from? We're not getting it from the URL. The URL is the location or a reference to where it is. It's from the internet. And when we say, I want information from the internet, Malcolm. A server. Anyone ever seen an error like that? Neat. Oh, you can make these all errors. Like that, error. Make that error. Why am I making these all errors? Enum is of type error. I hope that works. Raw value must be a literal. Damn. All right. Well, I guess I gotta get a function, which is return or provide error for app error. Ugh. Which returns an error. Damn. And for each of these cases, I could do something. I'm going to say by default. Or I'm just going to say, return an error. Guys, I'm feeling lazy and lunch is in 10 minutes. I hope you're all okay with that. But are you seeing the pattern of what we're doing? For each error, we want to be able to provide to the user a description of what went wrong. We might not say there was a bad HTTP response, but we might say had an issue connecting to the server. Because you want people to know what's going on when you use their app. Great. Fetching data. There's some stuff going on here. All right. In the case where it's successful, we will trigger a completion handler that has brewskis in the success case. Brewskis. Else, we will trigger a completion handler that has failed. And we will say, I don't know, let's come up with something. Other, say, oh no, there's probably an error for this. Bad JSON. Bad JSON. All right. If this fails, we can just trigger the completion handler, which is a failure, and in there we'll just throw app error, which is an app error. Neat. This is awesome. I could use this all the time. I don't need a decode error here because I've already created an app error. Let's see what's going on here though. Oh no. Oh no, why doesn't it like me? Wow. Produces a result of type success failure, but context expects result brewery. Ah, I could say as app error. What about that? Do you like it now? No. Yeah? No. Error can't be constructed because it has no initializers. Well, I'm not using this function, so get over it. Expression pattern cannot type of type pattern. Oh man, guys. What did I do? Why can't I use failure? I thought that when I look at my result, I get something of type app error. Let's go look at my result. Wow. Yeah, it looks like it's type app error. What's going on? What? What's going on? All right. I don't know. What is the... Isn't it already an app error? Let's see. I'm going to call whatever that thing is. Let's just go there. Ah, it's the capital A. I know. I just want to humor everyone. I hope this works. Oh, it didn't work. But this all looks like it works. Why doesn't it work now? Oh, there's no such thing as a Brewery API client. Oh, cool. Because we don't need that shit anymore. Sorry. Instead, all we need is brew model. What's it called, Sam? There you are. Hi, Sam. Brewery. All we need is brewery dot get brewskis, which gets a result. Brewery dot get brewskis with this trailing syntax for the closure. There's a result. Do that stuff. Self.brewskis, do that stuff. I sure hope this works. The only way to find out if it truly works is to add testing to my app. But we didn't do that. And I would not torture you guys with that. Because look, we've almost made it till lunch. Do you like it? All right. So with our network manager, we went and we got some data. And now all our brewery model needs is data. And it's going to go and decode that stuff. This is all it has to know. It doesn't have to know how to use the internet. Your brewery model doesn't need to know how to do that. It doesn't need to know what a data task is. Just goes and it says, hey, person who's in charge of the internet, I want some stuff. Here's where I know to get it. From this string. Do me a favor and let me know if you can get it. And it goes and it does it and says, if we failed, well, here's why we failed. If I succeeded, you still want to do some stuff. You want to decode that thing. I'm stepping out now, you do the rest. And now brewery says, all right, well, I decoded it, that was great. Or it says, crap, I couldn't decode it. There's this specific type of error that I could probably respond to that might occur anywhere in my app for any kind of model that gets any data from the internet using my network manager. There's probably a way we could refactor this function so it doesn't have to know what the URL is. Probably keep that somewhere else. It's okay for right now. We're hungry, right? In the afternoon, I want to come back real quick because you will need it for your lab and for plenty of future assignments, and we'll do it, I promise, really quickly on how to get images. Because if we have some one thing that gets images for us off the internet, you don't have to make that again either. Levi. I'm going to do that right now. The ever-quotable Phoenix. Yay.